Welcome to our daily Bible study. I am your host, Bible teacher, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and we're still on the 13th series, Constructing and Deconstructing Habits. This is the third class in this series entitled The RAS and You. The RAS reveals a specific part of the brain, and it deals with the Reticular Activating System. Let's dive right into our scripture for today. We're still in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. When we look at this text again, as we dealt with on the last Bible study, the principle here is that Paul is giving two types of information. He's giving you the thesis of the principles, but yet at the same time, he's giving us the antithesis. The thesis then is how to get rid of things that take your mind away from Christ, God. And the antithesis is how these things came to be. And so when we look at it from a hypothetical point of view and also a philosophical hermeneutical point of view, remember, interpretation is everything. You can interpret any source of information any way that you desire, but it may not necessarily be the original intent of the communicator. And so Paul says, casting down imaginations. Again, these two words, casting down, they were placed here by the interpreters to make the text be a little easier for us to understand and to navigate. He uses the word again, a word that's very powerful in my mind, kathahireo, and it means to lower with violence, to demolish, literally, or to cast down, pull or take down for the purpose of destroying. And so thoughts then are so powerful in that they create imaginations. Remember, everything that happens in the mind is a result of mental energy that becomes information that we interpret. And in our interpretation, we place this information deep within our unconscious. And as we consistently focus on this information, it becomes etched within our psyche, or in our nefesh, or nous, our mind. And so casting down, pulling down for the purpose of destroying, this has to be tantamount to every action if you want to get rid of any type of I'll say frameworking or habits that you have constructed that are now set to autopilot. But let's go on. We're going to talk about the RAS, or the Reticular Activating System. He says, in casting down imaginations, he uses the word logismos, and logismos then is connected to the term logos, or logic. It is the amplification of thoughts and the continual thinking of thoughts. And so it deals with the computation, an act of computing, a thought or a conjutation, a conception, or a device that is a mental device, or we could say, thematical device of the mind to bring out a specific type of reasoning. And so pull down, to destroy these computations and cogitations of the mind that have created concepts that now become visual implementations or thoughts that now are constructed in such a way that the mind can see the behavior, or the mind can see these things coming into an action, a state of being, or a behavioral process. And so he says, now pull down all of these things that you have computed with your mind. all of these things that you have constructed to become a solidified image that now you respond to by acting it out. And then he says, and every high thing, and every high, every pus from the top to the bottom, every high thing is the word hupsoma, or some pronounce it heap-soma, but it deals with a towering of self-conceit or presumptions. And so these high things are the things then, are the thoughts that you continue to focus on and the thoughts that you continue to lift up. There is a little mechanism in the human brain called the Reticular Activating System. The RAS, or Reticular Activating System, has many functions. It helps to keep us alive. It helps to keep us to focus. It helps to keep us on track to achieve goals. And so it's good with goal setting or orienting us to perform objectives. And so the RAS is very powerful because its programming or its design is to be used by the mind to keep the mind on track so the mind can continue to achieve, observe, or obtain the thought processes that are now driving the individual through a visionary acuity of an imagination. And so the RAS helps to build images. It helps to build imagery that produces continued thoughts concerning what you now envision. It helps you to search through your volition. And it's very important because when we talk about the volitionary aspect, the volition then is the determiner as to what you will think, what level you will think it upon, and what aspect of the mind you will think or use. Will you use cognition or the intellect? Will you use your emotive stance to now reveal what you feel about a certain thing? Will you respond in a certain way? Will you respond in haste because of an intellectual fathoming or an intellectual observation of something? And then the will also help you to understand whether or not you will continue to surmise, to think, and to determine, to work out a plan as to which aspect of the soul you will use. And so it appears that the will, much like the soul, is in a stasis between intellect and emotion. Just as the soul uses the physical and the spiritual to gain information concerning the physical world and the spiritual world, the will utilizes the intellect and the emotive state or emotion to gain understanding as to how it will move. Does it make sense cognitively, or are my feelings leading me the right way? Should I follow facts or gut feeling? And so the will then, as the sha'ar, according to Proverbs, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he or she. And so your thought processes then are the volitional powers of the will. Your will enables you to think, to feel. Your will determines what will rise to the surface conscious level. And so it is the will then that activates the reticular activating system, because the will determines if you will continue to focus on something based upon your emotive responses, how it makes you feel, how it didn't make you feel, or will you consistently keep analyzing it in your intellect to gain an understanding of it. And so the RAS keeps you on track so you can fulfill and establish a habit that will lead to an objective, that will lead to a fulfillment of a purpose. And so the RAS works together with the will to keep you engaged in the type of thinking, the quality of thinking. I am all out of time. We may come back and work some more on this, but I thank you for joining us. I'm your host, instructor, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and this has been our daily Bible study. God bless you.